If you have been growing basil and wondering why it turns into a tall, skinny stick that flowers and quits on you by midsummer, I already know what is going wrong. You're not pruning it. Or if you are, you're not doing it right. I have been growing basil my whole life, and I'm going to tell you something that might sound backwards. The secret to getting more basil is cutting more basil off. Most folks treat their basil plant like it is fragile. They tiptoe around it, pluck a leaf here and there for a caprese salad, and then act surprised when the thing shoots up, flowers, and turns bitter. That is not how you grow basil. Not if you want a big, bushy plant that keeps handing you fistfuls of fresh leaves all season long. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly where to cut, why it works, and how one simple pruning technique turns a sad little grocery store basil plant into a producing machine. No fluff, no theory, just what I've done in my own garden for decades and stick around until the end, because I have got a bonus tip my grandfather taught me about what to do with every single cutting, so you never waste a thing. You do not want to miss that one. Basil is the most popular herb in the garden and also the most commonly mismanaged. People treat it like a houseplant, something to look at and pick from gently. But basil is not a decoration. It is a producer, and pruning is the whole game. Let me show you how it works. Now, before you grab your scissors, you need to understand what basil is trying to do. Left to its own devices, a basil plant has one goal. It wants to grow straight up, put out flowers, set seed, and die. That is its entire biological mission. Your job as the gardener is to interrupt that mission, and the way you do it is dead simple. When you cut the main stem just above a leaf node, the plant cannot keep growing upward from that point, so it redirects its growth hormones into the two little side shoots sitting at that node. Now, instead of one stem going up, you have got two stems growing outward. Do that again on each of those two stems, and now you have 4. Do it again, and you have 8. That is how you turn a single stick into a bush. Every cut doubles the plant. My grandfather called it teaching the plant to spread out instead of reaching up, and that is exactly what you're doing. Once you understand that one principle, everything else about basil pruning makes sense. So the first thing you need to learn is where to cut. Look at any stem on your basil plant, and you will see spots where 2 small leaves or 2 little side shoots are poking out from opposite sides of the stem. Those spots are called nodes. That is your cut point. Every single time, you always cut just above a node, never between them. And I mean just above. About a 1/4 inch above the node is perfect. If you cut too low, you risk damaging those little side shoots that are about to become your new stems. If you cut too high, you leave a long stub above the node that has no purpose. It just sits there, dries out, and can actually rot back down into the node. So look for the little pair of baby leaves forming a V shape on the stem. That is your target. Cut right above the V, and you are golden. Now here is where most people go wrong. They wait too long to start. I cannot tell you how many folks let their basil get 12, 14 inches tall before they even think about pruning. By that point, the plant has already put most of its energy into growing upward, and it is well on its way to flowering. You need to start pruning when the plant has about 3 to 4 sets of true leaves. That is usually about 3 to 4 weeks after transplanting, sometimes sooner depending on your conditions. I know it feels wrong to cut a plant that small. You look at it and think, I should let it get bigger first. That hesitation right there is exactly what leads to a tall, leggy plant that flowers early and gives you barely anything worth picking. My grandfather used to start pinching his basil before it was even 6 inches tall. I remember thinking he was crazy. Then I saw how his basil looked by July compared to everybody else's, and I stopped questioning him. Once you start, the technique is the same every time. Start at the top of each stem. Find the highest node where you can see visible side shoots forming. Cut just above it. Then move to the next stem and do the same thing. Work your way around the whole plant. My rule of thumb is this: never let a stem grow more than 2 full nodes above where it was last cut before you prune it again. That keeps the plant compact and bushy and never gives it a chance to get leggy. How often should you be doing this? Every 1 to 2 weeks during the growing season. That sounds like a lot, but it takes about 60 seconds per plant once you know what you're looking for, and you do not need fancy tools. A pair of clean kitchen scissors works perfectly. The stems are soft enough that you can even pinch them off with your thumbnail. Just make sure your hands or scissors are clean so you're not introducing anything to an open cut. If you're getting something out of this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I put out new videos every week with honest, no-nonsense gardening advice you can actually put to work. It is free, and it means you will not miss the next one. All right, let us keep going. Now I need to talk about flowers because flowers are the enemy of basil production. I know that sounds harsh, but I'm going to be straight with you. Once a basil plant starts flowering, the leaves turn bitter, and the plant shifts all its energy into making seeds instead of foliage. The eating is over at that point, so every time you prune, and every time you walk past your basil in the garden, look at the tips of the stems. If you see a flower bud forming, and they look like a little tight cluster of tiny leaves stacking up at the very tip, cut it off immediately, and do not just pinch the bud. Cut the whole stem back down to the next node below it. That way you are removing the flower and getting the benefit of a pruning cut at the same time. In hot weather, and I am talking consistently above 85 degrees, basil bolts faster than you would believe. You need to be checking every few days in the heat of summer. Here's my honest take. If a plant has fully bolted and gone to heavy flower all over, you're better off pulling it out and starting fresh than trying to bring it back. You can chase flowers on a badly bolted plant for weeks, and the flavor never really recovers. Cut your losses and plant a new one. Here's the part that most people do not put together. Every time you harvest basil for the kitchen, you should be pruning at the same time. Do not just walk out there and pluck individual leaves off the stems. That does almost nothing for the plant. Instead, cut whole stems back to a node. You get your handful of basil for dinner, and you just prune for bushiness at the same time. It is the most efficient move in the herb garden. Dinner and maintenance in one cut. And here's a tip within a tip. Always harvest from the top down, taking the newest growth first. The youngest leaves at the top of the plant have the best flavor anyway, and cutting from the top is exactly where you want to be pruning. It works out perfectly. Let me run through the most common problems I see folks have with basil pruning. First, the plant is tall and leggy with very few leaves. That means you have not been pruning early, or often enough. The fix is a hard cut. Take it back down to the lowest set of healthy nodes on each stem, even if that means cutting off most of the plant. It will look rough for about a week, and then it will come back bushier than before. Second, the plant flowered, even though you thought you were pruning. You missed some buds. It happens, especially in hot weather. Cut every flower stem back to a node right now and increase your pruning frequency to every 5 to 7 days. Third, the stems are turning brown and woody at the base. That is normal in a mature basil plant. Do not worry about it and do not try to cut into the woody part. Always prune from the green, flexible growth above the woody portion. New growth comes from the green wood, not the old. Fourth, the leaves are turning yellow after you pruned. That is almost never from the pruning itself. 9 times out of 10, it is overwatering or root stress. Back off the watering, make sure your container or bed has good drainage, and the plant will sort itself out. Now, if you take nothing else from this video, remember this. My grandfather had a rule that he never once broke, and I follow it to this day. Never throw away a basil cutting. Every stem you prune off your plant can become a brand new plant. Take that cutting, strip the leaves off the bottom inch or two, and stick it in a glass of room temperature water on a windowsill. Not cold, water straight from the tap. Let it come to room temperature first. In about 7 to 10 days, you will see white roots coming out of the stem. Once those roots are about 1 inch long, plant it in a pot of moist soil, and you have got yourself a free basil plant. My grandfather used to start the season with 1 basil plant from the nursery, and end the season with 12, every single one of them grown from pruning cuttings. He never bought more than 1. That always stuck with me because it is practical, it is free, and nothing goes to waste. Now you have got the same trick. And that is the honest truth about pruning basil. It could not be simpler. Cut it, and it grows more. Ignore it, and it flowers and quits on you. If this helped you out, go ahead and subscribe. I put out new videos every week to help you grow better food with your own two hands. Take care, and I will catch you in the next one.